This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas, and I'm doing machine knitting garter bar lessons. And now I'm finally actually doing some garter stitch. Let me pull that down so that you can see that that's garter stitch with the row of knit and then the row of purl. And here is how to do the garter stitch. I took the weights and comb off this garter stitch so that you could see how very flat and stretchy it is. But for working with the garter bar, you really want to have weights on it. So I'm going to put a weight sort of close to each end. I want a little bit of weight everywhere across the row. And then what's going to happen with this garter stitch is you're going to flip the knitting over. So you're always going to knit from the left to the right, because you have to flip it over. You'll have to start from the left to right again. So over and over, the knitting gets turned and you knit from left to right. The first step is to get the carriage from the right to the left without disturbing anything. So you put in the left part button on this machine. Now on a different machine you might have some other strategy to get from the right to the left without knitting anything. And of course you could reverse all this, but this is just a nice, easy routine. Don't let anybody tell you that it is just too tedious to do a few rows of garter stitch, because it's not. So I slide the carriage right to left without disturbing anything. And I'm going to unthread the carriage and just leave it over on the left. So that's the first step. The second step is to bring the needles out, and I could do that with a needle pusher up here too. And then I'm going to put the stopper on. So the stopper is on, and now I'm going to get the knitting pushed back, which opened all of the latches. And I like to have the loose end of the yarn out on the right, on the far end. Now, when using the garter bar to flip over knitting, the thing to remember is that there's bumps on one side, grooves on the other. You want the grooves up, as in always be groovy, grooves up. So you put this on the needles and you just tug this guy off. Very quick and easy to pull all the stitches onto the garter bar. And you make sure that all the stitches are all the way down, all the way across, which after you practice a little bit, they always will be. And then you can open the latches easily by just doing this. Push back a little so the latches are open. Flip the knitting and find the end stitch, and you want to put the end stitch on top of the hook like this so that the whole garter bar is resting on top of the needles. What's happening is that the hook under there is catching the thread, and then you just sort of slide around on the hook, and all your stitches have now been flipped over and caught on the hook. And then you just push them back, remove the stopper, and then you set that hardware aside and rethread the carriage and knit from left to right. Now oftentimes when you do garter stitch, you do a number of rows in a row, so I just leave the left part button in if I want to slip from the right to the left without disturbing anything. So now I have my carriage on the left again and unthread it again. And again, I'm going to bring all my needles out. So I'll use a needle pusher, but I have been known to use the garter bar for that, to just use the heel of the garter bar. And then the next step is to drop on the stopper. If you trouble yourself to use the stopper, you'll have a really much easier time of flipping the stitches. And I saw an open hook. It's okay to use your fingers, but my little credit card is great for making sure that the hooks are open. If you wanted, when you're first getting used to it, you might want to run along and just make sure, but pretty soon you get the hang of it. Now remember, grooves up. So the grooves are up. You just lay it in and pull the knitting onto it. all the way across, knitting's all the way down, you flip, and I'm just bringing that loose end out of the way. All the hooks have to be open at this point. I saw a closed hook, so I opened it, and then you just lay this on. You just want to make sure that I've got the end stitch at the end needle, and lay it in the groove and then bring it down. Garter and bar for standard and garter bar for bulky are just the same. And then knit back from the left to the right and free pass again. Now, just for the sake of making this slightly more visible, I'm going to try it again with the camera angle completely changed. Here I go again from a completely different camera angle. First I have the free pass, and you can see my carriage doesn't mess with anything because that part button's in. Bring it to the left, unthread, and push the carriage out of the way. Then I'm going to put the needle stopper on, and I'll just bring the needles out and put the needle stopper on. And you can see how it fits securely all the way down. This bulky one has two grooves. It has a groove for one needle and then a groove that's empty. So it doesn't matter, it's all the same, just plop it down. Then the knitting goes back, which opens the latches, and I like to keep the loose end outside. Then I take the garter bar grooves up, lay it in the hooks, pull the knitting onto it. The knitting's all the way down in between these teeth. I push back a little to open my latches, and I flip. And then I just line up so that these individual hooks are underneath these grooves, and the hooks are catching the bit of yarn that's on the other side. And then just pull down a little bit, put my knitting back against the machine, pop the stopper off, retread the carriage, knit back. Do it once more at that camera angle. Free pass, unthread, push the needles all the way out, put the stopper on, knitting back, latches open, garter bar grooves up. Those are the dents, not the bumps. Pull the knitting onto it. Can you imagine how long it would take to do this one by one with a latch tool, reforming the stitches? Okay, now I'm on, and I'm just letting the hooks grab the yarn from underneath and rethread.